This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I sure am glad to have you today. The phone number, if you want to be on the program, 877-973-7425. As always, text ARMY, A-R-M-Y, to 33777, and just put in your name, email, zip code so we know where you are, where you're listening, so as we get to your areas, we'll be able to email you and let you know we're coming to you, which we intend to start doing. November 7th, we're going to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then next year we'll be spreading out across the country. So hope you'll be listening. By the way, speaking of Tulsa, Brokeback Trent is still listening. We used to call him Trent from Tulsa, and he said he was quitting. He was never coming back. He was never going to listen again. And yep, he's still emailing stuff I say that he finds offensive. So we had to move to Brokeback Trent because he can't quit us. And the problem with Brokeback Trent not being able to quit us is we opened the listenership in Tulsa on KRMG to try to find some smarter listeners than Trent, and we got him. But he didn't actually go away, so the ratings are up because we expected Trent to depart the scene, but he can't quit us. Not sure whether he's the Heath Ledger character or the other guy, but he can't get off the mountain. It's all right. It's all right. We love having you, Trent. Even your emails make our day. Now, I gotta do a thing here, and I need to talk. I need to have a conversation with a listener. And it's a conversation between me and a particular listener, and I'm happy to have the rest of you listen into the conversation here because I think it'll be edifying to all of you to listen to the conversation. But I gotta single out one particular person and talk to this person, and it's a very one-sided conversation here. It's just me talking to him, and the rest of you can listen in. So, listener Donald from Palm Beach, here's the problem, buddy. If you don't win this thing, you're going to jail. That's just the reality. You've got to win the presidency to not go to jail. And I got to tell you, I have been saying since February or March of this year that if the election were held today, you would win. And for the very first time, if the election were held today, I think you would lose. I don't think it's just the debate. The debate wasn't good, but there's hope from the debate. And it's the hope from the debate that I think you should hang your hat on. But I got to tell you, I had a conversation yesterday with some of the people who work directly for you, who are very good campaign people. You know, Mr. Trump, for the very first time, you actually have a really good campaign team around you. You won in 2016 with the Island of Misfit Toys. It took Kellyanne Conway coming in and cleaning things up at the end. She's very good. You should probably bring her back at this point. But you got some problems, and the people around you are starting to vent about the problems. And the number one problem is indicative of you having Laura Loomer with you. I'm not going to tell you who your friends should and shouldn't be. Plenty of people tell me, oh, you shouldn't hang out with this person. They're a terrible person, and they're my friend. The problem is you have to discern who to listen to and who not to listen to. And the sense I get from talking to some of the senior people in your campaign is that when they tell you something, and they're experts, and then you bring it up to your circle of insane friends, they all dismiss it and tell you it's not true, and you're believing the friends and not the people you are actually paying to win your campaign. And that's problematic. Take the pets from Springfield, Ohio. You know how to talk about Springfield, Ohio. It's not to talk about the pets, because there's no hard evidence that's happening other than in Canton, Ohio, where that woman ate a pet. There are lots of people saying it's happening. No one can provide proof of it. But you know what they can provide proof of? Ascertainable factual proof is a city overwhelmed by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's policies. Overwhelmed. Social services are overwhelmed. Schools are overwhelmed. There's more crime. There are more wrecks. Insurance rates are going up because apparently nobody taught the Haitians how to drive. Instead of talking about the pets and doubling down on the pets, you can talk about how a city had 20,000 people dumped on them. Now, they didn't all come at one time. They came over a couple of years, but they've overwhelmed the city. And it is because of Joe Biden, and it is because of Kamala Harris. And the same thing's happening around the country. Aurora, Colorado is being run over by a violent gang from Venezuela. It's happening in El Paso, Texas as well. Here's the thing. You lack the discipline for someone to say these things, not those things. And I get that, and you get that. But here's the thing. You know and I know you have the capacity when someone says mention these things to mention those things. We're not going to stop you from mentioning all the other crazy stuff. But start with, she's been there 3.5 years. Why hasn't this stuff changed? Start with, the border's overrun. Kamala Harris on that debate stage mentioned the crisis of fentanyl. Why are we having a fentanyl crisis? Because she and Joe Biden haven't secured the border in 3.5 years. Start with those things. If you want to talk about the pets, talk about the pets. Just start with overwhelmed cities, overwhelmed social services, overwhelmed Americans having their jobs displaced by immigrants. It's a real thing. Start with she's been there 3.5 years. How is she going to make it better? Now, here's where the hope comes in. And the hope is not a wishful thinking. People talk about hope. Christians are real good about talking about hope. You know what Christians mean when they talk about hope? Christians mean the profound certainty of the resurrection of Christ and the second coming. They are profoundly certain. It is by faith. It's based on evidence, but it's hope. It's not a wishful feeling. It's not like, I hope I win the lottery. No, it's hope based on, I know this thing is real and I'm ready for it. Here's your hope. The thing that is real that you can actually put some faith in. The thing that is real that you can put some faith in is the focus groups with undecided voters who watched the debate. It was not fatal to you. The debate was not fatal. That means you have an opportunity to regroup. And all you have to do is in every speech, in every place, start with, she's been there 3.5 years, the economy sucks, and look at all the people coming across the border. And then you can go talk about whatever you want to talk about. But every time you talk about those. And I will say again, you need to do what I said before. You need to do a local media strategy. You know what? You know what you should do? Donald Trump, you should go to Springfield, Ohio. Go to Springfield, Ohio. The media will have to go with you. And you can talk about the economy, and you can talk about immigration, and you can talk about crime. If you want to talk about the ducks, talk about the ducks, but start with, she's been there 3.5 years and look what's happened. That's all you have to do. Start with, she's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy and immigration. And then talk about whatever you want to talk about, but start with, she's been there 3.5 years. Go to Springfield, Ohio. I guarantee you, my buddy Larry, who does the morning news on WHIO in Ohio, he'd love to have an interview with you. Everybody listens to WHIO in Springfield, Ohio. I know, because I get the emails. Big station in Springfield, Ohio. I just happen to be the voice in the middle of the day there. Larry's local. And then go to Kalamazoo, Michigan. And again, she's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at immigration. And there you can talk about cars. Talk about electric vehicles. Go to Pittsburgh. Go to Philly. Talk about crime. Talk about the economy. Talk about she's been there 3.5 years. This is totally salvageable. The debate was not good. And I realize you're saying it's a great debate, and all of your crazy friends that you've got surrounding you were telling you did a good debate. No, you did not do a good debate, and deep down you know it. And you don't like being embarrassed. Here's the deal. You either win or you go to jail. And every morning when you get up, you should look yourself in the mirror and say, I got to win this or I'm going to jail. And that should provide you the mental motivation to focus on, she's been there 3.5 years, look at the economy and look at the border. I get the distinct impression that you're not actually interested in winning the election. That you wanted to win the nomination. And you thought it would be a cakewalk because it was Joe Biden. But your campaign decided to take Joe Biden up on his debate offer, and you did the debate before he secured the Democratic nomination. That was a mistake on your campaign's part. You should have waited. But it's all salvageable. You got 54 days left. And in those 54 days, every day that you're not talking about she's been there 3.5 years, look at the economy, look at the border, is a day you're losing. Until this moment, I've been pretty sure that you were going to win. At first with the popular vote, then Joe Biden went away, and then still with the Electoral College. But after the debate, it's become apparent you've surrounded yourself with an echo chamber that is telling you everything's A-okay. And they're telling you all the crazy stuff they see on social media, and you're repeating that. And you know what you're repeating, not repeating when you're repeating that? You're not repeating, she's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. And that's all you have to say. You do an interview, and they ask you about January 6th instead of doubling down. Say, well, she's there now. I'm not. She's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. It's not hard. We all know you're going to take the bait. We all know you're going to take the bait. But if you're smart, when you take the bait, which you shouldn't do, but we know you're going to, start with she's been there 3.5 years. Well, don't you think the race was stolen? Yeah, but she's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. She's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. Mr. Trump, what do you think about Sino-Japanese relationships and the crisis with Taiwan? Well, it's a big issue, but Kamala Harris has been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. Mr. Trump, what do you think about the hypostatic union and the theory of Augustine in the Trinity? Well, that's an interesting issue, but Kamala Harris has been in the White House 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. Mr. Trump, can you explain Einstein's theory of relativity? Oh, it's an interesting theory, but Kamala Harris has been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. That's all you have to do. For 54 days, that's all you have to do. The Wall Street Journal interviewed a massive pile of undecided voters who watched the debate. Do you know what they said? They all agreed she got the better of you in the debate, and they still don't like her because of the economy and the border. All you have to do is remind people for 54 days, she's been there. Say it with me, people. Say it with me. She's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. And then on election night, look at your win.
With Lululemon, the real gift happens when they're living in it. When you give them the coziest scuba matching set, the real gift is this. And this. And this. This holiday, Lululemon makes it easy to give a gift that goes beyond. Open the moment. Shop now at Lululemon.com.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson, oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson, and as the voice said, you can be on the show, 877-973-7425, and I'm going to start with Frank calling from Whispering Pines, North Carolina. Welcome.
Hey, Eric. How you doing?
Great.
Hey, I got to say, I really couldn't agree more with you that, Donald Trump is his own worst enemy. He just needs to shut up at times. Like when he started with his reply on the immigration bill and why he shut it down, instead of going into why he should, he got into what my wife likes to refer to as saying, there he goes again, my quote unquote male member is bigger than your quote unquote male member.
Yeah, look, I do have to say one thing that I think is happening here, Frank, is that if he loses, there will always be those who are convinced it was stolen from him, but there'll be far fewer in number this time than in 2020, just given his performance. A buddy of mine said he's so frustrated. He doesn't know if it was the assassination attempt or what, but he just hasn't seemed focused on winning since then. He's just seemed focused on wanting people to know he's not some sort of loser or something. It's just the wildest thing. He stood up, raised his fist, and said, fight, and it's been downhill from there.
And like you said, too, every response should be, she's been there for 3.5 years.
Yeah. Yep. The economy, the border. I mean, he should go to Springfield, Ohio.
Energy.
Frank, and energy. Frank, thank you very much for the phone call. Yeah, energy is a big one. Energy is a big one. Y'all, he can win this thing. I'm not saying he can't. Just saying, for the first time, I'm starting to question, does he really want? He better want to, because he's going to go to jail if he doesn't win. That should be the impetus he needs to focus, is winning. And there are so many people who are so frustrated. And of course, there are the true believers. There are always the true believers. Listen, Joe Biden had true believers who were convinced after that debate that everything was fine and he was going to beat Trump. And Trump has the same sorts of people. The Harrytons of the world, not the Harrytons, the Harry Sissons of the world, that everything is fine. He's the greatest debater ever. He won the debate. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. It'll all be fine, and then the election will be stolen. It would be great if Donald Trump. I mean, I don't care what he talks about. If he wants to go down the Laura Loomer rabbit hole, that's fine. Well, it's not, but he's going to. But just start with, she's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at the border. And then you can move on from there. Now, when we come back, we got to spend a little more time with Springfield, Ohio. Boy, are you guys in the news. But also, we do have more to talk about, including signs that war with China may be closer than we think. And also, Susan Glassman. Oh, my gosh, do I have to talk to you about Susan Glassman? She is everything wrong with the media today. And yeah, we need to laugh at her expense to a little bit when we come back. But first, I got to tell you about Old Glory Bank. They're my bank. They could be your bank. You can get a no-fee checking account, no-fee savings account. They're good people. They're great bank. Their app is fantastic. Their budgeting tools are great. Their debit card features are great. You can turn it off if you misplace it without actually canceling your card. When you find it again, turn it back on. You can deposit cash, even though it's an online bank, at 88,000 retail locations. OldGloryBank.com. All you do, go there, fill out the form. Takes maybe 8 minutes max, probably 6 minutes. You just fill out the form, and you get a checking account. You get a savings account. You do no fee. You can do business. You can do a premium account. You can do loans. You can do mortgages. It's a real bank. They're headquartered in Oklahoma. They bought a great bank there. They've expanded them nationwide. And gosh, I can't speak highly enough of them. I've really enjoyed using the bank. It's just good people. It's conservatives who came together to form a bank for conservatives, and they're running it just like you would want a good group of conservatives to do. OldGloryBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. As always, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777 so you can get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, so much more. There is some breaking news I need to tell you about. Cook Political Index, the highly regarded political institution in D.C. that observes political races, has moved the Montana Senate race to leans Republican from toss-up, making the GOP Senate pickup more and more likely, which is good news regardless of how the presidential race goes. It's good news to have Republicans in charge of the Senate. Nonetheless, it'd be great to have a Republican president. Now, I need to talk about Susan Glasser for a minute, and you probably don't know her, and that's fine. That means you don't read the New York Magazine. Or New Yorker. She is a progressive. I need you to understand something about New Yorker. I have been interviewed numerous times by the New Yorker. When I get interviewed by the New Yorker, I am told, as is everyone else interviewed by the New Yorker, that in a day or two, you'll be contacted by a fact checker. And that fact checker goes sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence to fact check everything. The New Yorker prides itself in its fact checkers and its fact checking processes, its fact checking liturgies. It loves its fact checkers. Susan Glasser writes at the New Yorker. And Susan Glasser wrote this in the New Yorker. His line, meaning Trump's line about how the vice president, quote, wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison was pretty memorable too. What the hell was he talking about? No one knows. Who was the lady? What was her name? Pauline Kael. This is somewhat apocryphal, I believe, but it's cited to her. Richard Nixon in 1972 won re-election, and she commented that she was so stunned. Now, he won a massive, massive election in 1972. And she was stunned, and she said no one she knew voted for him. She couldn't believe he won. It's the bubble she was in. Susan Glasser is like that. And so many progressives are like that. See, what Trump was talking about was a Andy Kaczynski report from CNN that in 2019, Kamala Harris answered a survey from the American Civil Liberties Union and said she favored using taxpayer funds to pay for transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison. And Susan Glasser has no idea. And none of Susan Glasser's friends have any idea. Which is why the New Yorker, that prides itself on fact-checking, has not bothered to add an editor's note, a footnote, a clarifying comment, or anything about her incredulity that Donald Trump would suggest something that is actually true. It's like saying, talking about babies being born alive and being killed. To people on the left, they fully reject the idea, and it sounds too gruesome to be true, doesn't it? But there are thousands of children, and I am talking thousands of children every year who are aborted at the very last minute. There were several thousand babies aborted in the last month of pregnancy in this country last year alone. Not only that, but there are numerous documented cases where children survived abortions and the doctors chose to allow the children to die after birth. The children would have survived, but the doctors chose, since they were intended to be aborted, let them die. This is now a living human being out of the womb. This isn't a fetus. This is a baby living and alive outside the womb who could survive if given medical treatment, and the doctor who performed the abortion screwed it up, so the baby's alive, and so the doctor says, well, he's got to die. And people on the left act like that's not true, and there are multiple documented cases. I am the guy willing to tell you there are no documented cases in Springfield, Ohio, of Haitians eating other people's pets. And all you people on the left are willing to applaud me for being truthful, but you can't comprehend the fact, because it's so gruesome to even think about, even though it's true, that there are doctors who have performed abortions, failed, the baby's born alive, and the doctors let the kid die, knowing the kid could survive if given medical care. And you can't comprehend the fact, because it's so grotesque to you, that there are actually situations in this country where women decide, because of change in life circumstances more often than not, that in the 9th month of pregnancy, well, I'm going to kill the kid. This is a child that is within weeks of being born and can completely survive outside the womb, except the mom has lost her job or the father's left or some such hardship, and I'm going to kill a kid that would totally be called a baby if delivered alive. You can't fathom that, and so you deny it's true. You're willing to mock and scoff at Donald Trump for saying pets, dogs and cats are being eaten in Springfield, Ohio, and you don't even know that these kids are being born alive. You don't even know that Kamala Harris said that she's totally happy to use taxpayer funds to provide gender transition surgeries for illegal aliens in jail. Your mind can't comprehend it. And so you've decided, Donald Trump said it, it's probably not true. Which means you're no better than the people you're mocking for saying that pets are getting eaten in Springfield, Ohio. It's wild. The bubble that people are in. The bubble people are in. And this happens time and time again. And by the way, you should know that video has come out of a guy at a city council who, if you were listening to my program the other day, if you were listening to my program on Monday or Tuesday, Monday, I covered the problems in Springfield, Ohio. And the press is acting incredulous to this point too today, and I covered it on Monday. One of the things that's happened in Springfield, Ohio is Haitians have come in and they're getting well-paying jobs at McGregor's, and which makes parts for cars and auto plants and things like that. And so landlords have taken hundreds of houses out of Section 8 housing and government-subsidized housing programs. And they're now renting to the Haitians, who make more money than the local white people. And so the local white people in Springfield, Ohio are becoming homeless. There aren't enough houses to go around. And the Haitians are getting the better houses. And these are immigrants to the city who came in because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And by the way, God bless them. They're coming in and they're doing the work that other people in the community didn't do. They're getting to pay for it and they got housing. That's great. But here's the problem. There are a lot of people who are already there who had houses who've now been thrown out of their houses because of this population. And the city hasn't been able to keep up. It's a complicated subject, let's acknowledge, but also let's acknowledge it's happening. It actually is happening. People are being thrown out of houses because the landlords have decided they can get more money renting to the Haitians who are making more money than the local population. Now, what's so wild as well is now the media has swooped in, and the Haitians are the victims. Washington Post reporter running a story about how the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio have decided to keep their children home from school. You know, there was a bomb threat at City Hall this morning in Springfield, Ohio. The situation's gotten out of control. But how did it get out of control? Donald Trump highlighted the problems in Springfield, Ohio, as did J.D. Vance, and the media said, no, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. Turns out it was true. Not that the pets are getting eaten. There's no evidence of that. That's why Brokeback Trent, he emailed me this morning and said, Brian Kilmeade said there's a video of someone, it's someone saying that something happened according to someone who said something to someone else. There's no proof. But there is proof that people who had houses now don't, because they've been evicted, because the Haitians are making more money, and they're willing to pay higher rent. There's a side story here about the failures in Springfield, Ohio, of the local population and the fentanyl addiction and everything else. And let's be real clear here. By and large, the Haitians aren't the bad guys. It's the Biden administration that's the bad guy here. All the Haitians did, they came to town looking for work. They found work. The rumor mill in the Haitian community nationwide gets out that in Springfield, Ohio, there are great jobs and they're paying well. And guess what? They showed up and they got the jobs. A lot of others came who don't have jobs and they're refusing to assimilate, and that's a problem. But the precipitating event is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris letting them all in, and they flooded the city. And I'm sure Susan Glasser at the New Yorker has no idea. No idea. I'm sure the Washington Post people who rushed to Springfield, Ohio to say that the locals are the bad guys and the Haitians are the good guys and Donald Trump's a racist, they've got no idea. They never even heard of Springfield, Ohio until Donald Trump and J.D. Vance put it on the map. And now they're going to take a partisan spin to it. And the locals, who are suffering under the massive, rapid influx of 20,000 people, they're going to get left by the wayside. I wonder if this actually helps Bernie Moreno, too. Where's Sherrod Brown in all of this? Because it is a real problem. You know, there's a town south of me. So there's a massive Hyundai plant that's being built. It's down Bryan County in Georgia, down I-16, headed towards Savannah. And it's about 2 miles long and 1.5 miles deep. You can see it from the interstate. And what's wild to me is that this local community is suddenly exploding, and it's a population of like 5,000-6,000, and it's about to have 20,000, 30,000 people. And they've had to stop. They were expanding the interstate down there, and they've had to stop interstate work to go build new infrastructure. They got to upgrade the sewer lines. They got to upgrade the water lines. They got to upgrade and put in new water tanks and all sorts of stuff, because this small town is about to become a city because of the massive number of people who are coming in down there. And they've been proactive. They know it's coming. They're taking care of it. They've got time to do it as this plant is getting built. Springfield, Ohio didn't have time. They couldn't plan. They didn't foresee. Everybody there is left holding the bag with this massive influx, 20,000 Haitians coming in looking for work. God bless them for coming there looking for work. They're not looking for they're not looking for welfare, they're looking for work. But unfortunately, a lot came who did decide to tax social services and overwhelm that system. And instead of the media dealing with the difficult, complex situation, they've decided to make it Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are bad. The Haitians are good. They've decided to frame it as a good guy versus bad guy, as opposed to an exceedingly complicated situation made more complex and worse because of the actions of the Biden-Harris administration, which is actually the story. One of the great things about Hillsdale College is how they teach you to think about these sorts of stories and realize that there are fact patterns that are fact patterns. They're not narrative patterns. They're fact patterns. And you can get their courses on critical thinking, on the Constitution, so much more completely for free. All you do is go to ericforhillsdale.com, ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. You can subscribe to Imprimus that covers these sorts of situations and takes a very nuanced, in-depth, conservative approach. It's show prep for your brain every day. You get it in your mailbox completely for free. You can get the Hillsdale College Podcast Network on your favorite podcast app, again, completely for free. You can take some of the classes and lectures from Hillsdale College, completely free. All the stuff, completely free. It's what Hillsdale does at ericforhillsdale.com. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. You can sign up with Hillsdale College today. You can start getting their podcast for free, Imprimus for free, the lecture series for free. You find out, you learn so much. It's education, not indoctrination. It's all brought to you by my friends at Hillsdale College. They've been doing this since the 1800s. Free quality education, not indoctrination, for Americans to be able to expand their minds and horizons. ericforhillsdale.com. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're buying a building, if you need a heavy equipment loan, let me just put it this way. If you've got great credit, you're running a business, your business needs a heavy equipment loan, like $50,000 or more, and you need the decision made fast. First Liberty makes their own decisions, and if you've got great credit, they can move very quickly. They are not like your regular bank where your lending partner disappears after 6 months and you got to find some new guy out of college. First Liberty's been doing this since the 90s. It's the same people. They know how to work with businesses to help them grow. They know how to do it fast. FirstLibertyGA.com. All their contact info is there, FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about a potential government shutdown that could be coming. But right now, I need to talk to you about Frank Luntz. Frank Luntz made news last night. He was with Piers Morgan on Piers Morgan's London show, and he said that he really does think that Donald Trump has lost the election because of the debate. Here's the thing, though. I looked at the undecided voter panels, and even the New York Times has a story about it. The undecided voters were deeply disappointed in Kamala Harris. The undecided voters are really upset that she couldn't answer the first question. For those of you unfamiliar, this again was the very first question of the debate, and Kamala Harris's answer.
Do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy.
She never answers the question, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? She says, actually, that she knows people are suffering and struggling, and she's going to have all these plans. And Donald Trump should have immediately said, you've been there 3.5 years. Why haven't you done it? Why haven't you done it? But she can't answer the question. And that's the thing that I keep coming back to, is that in focus group after focus group after focus group, in interview after interview after interview, the undecided voters think she got the better of Donald Trump, and they're still mad at her. And in an election where people are angry, they do not preserve the status quo. And she is part of the status quo. And that's why I think Donald Trump can win the election. But he's got to regroup after that debate in order to do so, and it's got to be everywhere he goes. She's been there 3.5 years. Look at the economy. Look at immigration. Look at the border. Look at crime. He can talk about all the crazy stuff he wants to talk about, but he's got to start with she's been there 3.5 years. He needs to do that. He can still win this thing, but man, does he need to do just a little focus or he's going to go to jail.